How many people here, by a show of hands, listen to music? All right, why do you do it? Feels good. Feels, right? You ask people that question, scientists ask people that question, and close to 100% of people say they listen to music because they like the way it makes them feel. How many scientists we have in the room here? Show of hands. Like, when do you ever get close to 100% of a sample all saying the same thing? It's pretty wild, right? So this is a very common motivation that propels people to engage in this experience. And it is a fundamentally emotional motivation. Yet here's what's really interesting. If you ask people, hey, the last time you were angry or anxious or sad, what did you do to manage your emotions? Only, depending on the study, between 10 and 30% report turning to music to shift their emotional response. Music is a powerful way of temporarily pushing you into a different emotional space. I was blind to this for a long time until I had a personal experience that you could read about in the book, and then started doing some research in this space. And ever since I've done it, whenever I look at my iPhone, I no longer see an invention that has changed the way the universe works. I see an emotion regulation device, right? Because I know this can push me in a very different direction. This is one way that you can harness your senses to shift your emotions. Senses, how we make sense of the world, how we take in information. Part of the way our senses work is through our emotional apparatus. We need to know whether to approach or avoid things. Right, it's a fundamentally emotional experience. How many people here have spritzed themselves with something this morning to smell a particular way? Why do you do that? Smells good. You're regulating how you feel about yourself, and you're also impacting how other people feel about you. Right? So scent, that's another powerful emotion. I was on a transatlantic flight recently. I went through the duty-free section and I saw an emotion regulation emporium. Has anyone ever visited that? You know what I'm talking about? Duty-free shops with all the perfume and cologne. $billion industry. When I was little, when my kids were little, I remember we went to this one nice hotel in Chicago, and my look at me and they go, "Daddy, it smells so good in here. Can we live here?" It's like, not if you want to go to college. But this is exactly what the owners of those hotels are doing. They are leveraging sensation to shift our emotions. So all of your senses can be used to push your emotions around. It can be very hard to change the way we think, to change the way we feel. But there are tools that exist to make that a little bit easier, and I call those tools perspective shifters. Let me give you an example of one. I've got a clip I'm going to play of Malala Yousafzai, youngest person ever win the Nobel Peace Prize. She's talking about her experience, what went through her head when she discovered that the Taliban were plotting to kill her. I want you to listen to the way she uses words to reflect on that experience.
When did you realize the Taliban had made you a target?
When in 2012, I was with my father and someone came and she told us that, have you seen on Google that if you search your name and the Taliban have threatened you? And I just could not believe it. I said, no, it's not true. And even after the threat, when we saw it, I was not worried about myself that much. I was worried about my father, because we thought that the Taliban are not that much cruel that they would kill a child, because I was 14 at that time. But then later on, I used to I started thinking about that, and I used to think that the Talib would come and he would just kill me. But then I said, if he comes, what would you do, Malala? Then I would reply myself that, Malala, just take a shoe and hit him. But then I said, if you hit a Talib with your shoe, then there would be no difference between you and that Talib. You must not treat others that much with cruelty and that much harshly. You must fight others, but through peace and through dialogue and through education. Then I said, I'll tell him how important education is, and that I even want education for your children as well. And I'll tell him, that's what I want to tell you. Now do what you want.
All right, so who caught it? What was odd there? What'd she do? Yeah. She was talking to herself in the second person. She was using you and her name. She's using a tool called distanced self-talk. What distanced self-talk involves doing is silently coaching yourself through a problem using you and your own name. And it's a tool that can help people deal with difficult situations more objectively. The reason why it works? Well, let me ask you, how many people here are much better at giving advice to other people than they are taking that advice themselves? Let's see the hands go up. All the hypocrites here. It should be all of you, all of us, right? We are much better at doling out the advice than taking it. You is a word that 99% of the time we use it, we're using it to think about and refer to someone else. So when you use that part of speech to refer to yourself, it's switching your perspective. It's putting you in this advice-giving mode. Makes it easier to work through problematic experiences.
Can we use these emotional regulation techniques beyond ourselves and apply it to others, for example, during negotiations or meetings, and presumably leading people as well?
Without question. So there's one study in the book that I cite that looks at the proportion of time we are awake that people report experiencing emotion. It's about 90% of the time. We spend most of our waking hours where? At work, right? So there's often a need to manage our emotions at work. We know emotional contagion is a powerful force. Emotions often spread from one individual to another. From a leadership point of view, I think it's really important to know about how that works, because it means how you show up as a leader emotionally is going to have implications for the folks that you are leading. This is also true amongst peers. There's a whole chapter in the book about people and what we can do to shift other people's emotions. We are a social species. How we talk to other people about the issues that they're struggling with has direct implications for how they feel. We are often in positions to push other people's emotions around. And again, we don't get a user's guide on how to do it. I bet a lot of people in this audience really want to help folks on their teams at work when they're struggling with problems. But what should you actually do? Like, how do you talk to someone when they've been rejected, when they've lost the deal? Do you have a specific blueprint for navigating those situations? Because science provides a blueprint for steering those conversations. And it's something that we can all avail ourselves of. So I think all of this science is directly relevant to work. It's relevant to work, it's relevant to home, it's relevant to life, because we are an emotional species.
Well, you mentioned how our feelings and our emotions can spread within a social context, and there's a question here from Grace, who is asking, what has research shown or revealed about the impact of social media on our ability to emotionally self-regulate? And maybe I'll add on top of that, what have we seen in terms of the impact of social media and the collective experience that we might be having through platforms?
Oh dear, how much time do we have left here? Right. So social media, let's see where to begin. I've been doing actual research on social media and well-being for about 15 years, from not too long after Facebook became really popular, although Facebook, what? Who's on Facebook anymore, right? Like, that's not the rage. Here's my thought on social media. Social media is a new environment that we spend a lot of time interacting in. It's a sticky environment that captures our attention, no question about it. But is it a de facto toxic environment? No. There are ways of navigating that social media space that can push your emotions in negative directions or positive directions. So I'll give you a couple examples. One of the ones we hear about most often has to do with social comparisons on social media. If you're on Instagram or X, LinkedIn, it can sometimes feel like a minefield. You're just waiting for the envy meter to be tripped. Oh my God, something great happened to someone else. And that can be an emotional experience that people find distressing. Sometimes those social comparisons, their negative effects can actually linger for many days. How many people here think, by the way, that social comparisons are just bad for us? You should not compare yourself to others. Okay, I spent a lot of time on this in the book. Social comparisons are part of how we work. One of the ways we figure out about things about ourselves when standards aren't clear is we compare ourselves to other people. So good luck never comparing yourself to anyone else. It's not really possible. But here's the really good news. You can harness social comparisons to your benefit. You can reframe the ones that lead you astray. So in comparing yourself to someone who's outperforming you might initially make you feel really bad, but you can also flip it. You can shift it, right? Wow, they're like me, and they were able to do this. Guess what? So can I. Now it's a comparison that's motivating you. We can also flip the downward comparison. Sometimes you come across people who have struggled with enormous adversity. That bad things have happened to them, and our initial reaction is, oh, bleep, what if this happens to me? And people get really scared. Or you could reframe it. Wow, I'm so fortunate. This hasn't happened to me. So we can play with that calculus. Social comparison is one way that social media affects us. We also can use social media to help other people. If you think back to the beginning of the war with the Ukraine, social media was used to provide support to the Ukrainians who were struggling. I use social media sometimes to go to bed, right? I violate like every digital hygiene prescription around. You know what I do? I watch these ridiculously silly reels. Like, they're very funny.
Right.
I laugh, my wife gets mad at me, she like elbows me,
Right.
but they put me to bed in like 12 minutes. So the key with social media is to identify how to navigate it strategically. We teach our kids how to navigate the world so that they do so profitably. There are ways of navigating the space outside that can be really bad for us or good for us. And I think the real challenge with social media is to start thinking about how you can navigate that space to your benefit.